I got my catfishing stuff here, and I'm gonna be showing you guys the top 3 catfishing rigs all fishermen need to know. Now we're gonna start off with one that's very simple. This is the most simple of them all. And for this, I am gonna be pulling my stuff out of the KG catfishing kit, because it's got everything I need. I'm going straight circle hook, and I'm gonna be tying it straight onto my line. I use an improved clinch knot, but if you have the fishing kit, it's that knot right there. It's got built into the front. So first I'm just gonna pull a hook onto my straight up line, and I'm just gonna tie this thing on. And then right there, that knot is tied. Pull it good and tight, make sure it don't come undone. I'll take these pliers, trim my tag in just like that. And this rig in particular, I think is really good for spinning reels. From here, I'm just gonna pull out a split shot sinker, okay? It doesn't weigh much at all. And from here, I'm just gonna come up on my line about 6 inches to a foot, crimp this thing on there just like that right there, and then boom. You have the most basic catfish rig there is out there. You have a hook, and then you have a little bit of weight to pull whatever you're throwing down at the bottom. Now, the problem with this rig is that if you're throwing it on a big old catfish setup, you don't have as much weight to throw. That's why I was saying on a spinning rod, this is really good. But the thing that makes it work is the weight of the bait. So say you do have a little chicken liver on here or a piece of chicken breast, that's gonna be most your weight so that you can actually cast it. I'm just gonna grab me a piece of bread real quick, and I'll show you how it works. I'll wad me up a little bread ball right there. Say this is your chicken or something. And that'll give me a little bit extra weight. It still ain't gonna give me much. Sometimes this is really good for whenever you don't really need to go super deep, and also whenever you don't need to cast really far. So if I just know I just need to pitch it over there and it's only sinking maybe 6 feet, or I'm not even worried about how fast it gets to the bottom, I'll throw on something like this because it's the most simple rig there is. And worst case scenario, I hang up, I lose it. What did I even lose? Pretty much nothing. And this is called, I believe, the split shot rig. Super simple, it's just a split shot and a hook. Now let's move on to number 2. This rig is really good for fishing the bottom. So if you really want to get down to the bottom, this is the rig I'll go with. And it's a little more complex, a little more serious. With this, I'm gonna pull this reusable sinker. I'm gonna just pull it off because there ain't no reason in throwing it away. I'll put it right back in my bag and store it right back in the little slot it came from. Same thing with the hook, because we're gonna be reusing that same hook for this rig. For here, this is gonna be called the Carolina rig. For it, you're gonna need a hook, you're gonna need an egg sinker, we're gonna need a bead, and we're gonna need a swivel. In this case, we're gonna be using this snap swivel. First, you take your weight, depending on how deep you wanna go. In this box, we have an 1/8, a 1/4, and a 1/2. I'm using a 1/4. I'm just gonna slide that up. So first thing, the egg sinker going on. Next, I'm taking the bead and I'm sliding it on. Then, with the same knot I tied on the other one, I'm just gonna go ahead, I'm gonna tie on this swivel. This is gonna be the beginning of the rig. This is your main line. And after this is gonna be your leader line, which is gonna be a little bit different, and I'll tell you why here in a second. Boom, there we go, that's tied on. Now for your main line, here's what it looks like. It's gonna be the weight sliding up and down, so it'll get it down. You're gonna have that bead on your line so that the bead can actually cover up your knot so your weight don't sit there and slam into it and weaken the knot. From here, this is where we're gonna tie on our leader line. I prefer, and it's always a good idea, to have a slightly less strong leader line than your main line. That way if your hook hangs up on the bottom, you can just pull real tight, and the first thing that'll break will actually be your leader, and you'll get to keep all this stuff. So from here, I'm gonna go ahead and take some, I got mono here, but anything that's less powerful than your main line, and you're just gonna tie a knot right here. Now I'll say this too, if you're using the same exact line for your leader and main line, that's fine too. You can actually learn different knots that break at different strengths, so you can make the first knot to break be your leader and not your main line. From here, this is up to you, but I usually go about a foot, and I'll cut off my leader, so that now after the swivel, I've got 1 foot, 2 feet, something like that, of line, and that's whenever I come in here and just throw down on my hook. We're gonna be using the same exact, actually, I'm not. I'm gonna be putting up that one, I'm gonna be pulling out the trophy catfish hook, which is a lot thicker. For absolutely no reason at all, I just chose to pick this one. But if you know you're going for bigger catfish, I'd use the bigger hooks. And we'll just tie that on with the same hook. I mean, we'll tie this on with the same knot since our leader is a less weight, less power or whatever. All right, there we go. And so this is called the Carolina rig, but it's pretty much a sliding weight to a swivel, to a leader, to a hook.
That's pretty good.
That's a pretty good one right there. And I wouldn't even be afraid to go 6 inches if you really wanted to, because guess what? I don't think catfish care that much. And now this is good if you're fishing on bottom, because now you've added on that little bit extra weight. And if you want to, like I was saying, you can throw on the bigger sinker and get more weight. It's gonna pull your bait down further, especially if it's live bait. You'll want that weight, because say the split shot rig, you're using a live bluegill. The bluegill is stronger than the split shot. It can just swim it away. But with this, you put on the bigger egg weight, or maybe even a couple of them, and you can actually weigh down live bait. This is gonna give you more casting distance and control over your bait. And you can see the bait caster handles that a lot better. Especially once you have bait on there, it'll handle it a lot better.
You can swarp at them.
Yeah, just, oh, about hit you. Also, that's a fun little interesting thing you said, swarping. That's what we call big old catfishing hook set. If you're using circle hooks, you don't even swarp. We'll talk about that in the different videos, how to set the hooks. I'll make a video on that. I'll point it to you at the end. But on a circle hook and a J hook, you set the hook very differently. But now let's go into the third, but slightly complicated. It ain't bad. The slip bobber. And for this, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna save my whole swivel and leader setup, because we're gonna be using it the same. But now let's come back up to the top, and we're gonna be setting us up right here.
This is a Pay Lake favorite right here.
Yeah, a lot of people catch a lot of fish on those slip bobber because it gives you something to watch. Long-time Pay Lakers know that whenever the bobber starts doing this, something's about to happen. It's a subtle movement.
You gotta get eye level with your bobber.
Yeah, and the cool thing, with the kit at least, it's kind of like a cheat sheet, but we can look. The first thing that goes on there is going to be some kind of bobber stop, so we're going to be using these. We come in here, run that on there, pull it through, and then we pull the bobber stop onto the line. And so there's that. Next, we're going to run a bead up on there. So we're going to take us a bead, run it up on there. I just had this bead, but there's plenty of beads in here for this exact reason. I'm just running that bead up on there. Next step is going to be the bobber. Take the bobber, whichever end you thread it through first is going to be the one sticking out of the water. So thread the orange side first, and you should just be able to slide it right down through the bobber by pushing your line, and eventually it should be popping out, and there it is. From here, we're pulling it through. Now it's time to add on our weight. The bobber itself has a weight on the bottom of it, but you still need more weight to actually pull the line through your bobber. So for this one, I think we want to go with a 1/4 ounce. So we're going to slide that egg sinker on. And then from here, I'm going to be putting on another bead. That's to protect the knot. If you guys are catching a theme, the beads are actually really important because it protects your knots. And then after that, now I'm finally ready to tie on this leader thing we made earlier. Same idea. I usually do always use lighter line for the leader in case I do get hung up or something. But just like that, we're almost done with the whole slip bobber rig, and it's really cool. I'll show you why in a second, and it's because you have so much control.
That's my favorite. What about you?
That's your favorite?
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm more of the split shot rig kind of guy, because I'm usually real simple, and where I fish, I usually don't cast far. But now if I ever want to have a good time, I'm out there slinging the slip bobber, because I'll show you right here in a second. It's just fun to sling.
Makes a cool sound when you sling it.
Yeah, and I'm even going to shorten this. Actually, what's the rule, Ethan?
What?
On a slip bobber.
Oh, you don't want your hook to be able to go over top of your bobber.
So on a slip bobber, you don't want your leader too long, because if your hook is really long and dangling, a lot of times it'll just sling up as you cast and actually hook on here. So on this one, you'll generally want a smaller one, about 6 inches. Since this bobber's 6 inches, I may even go 5 inches if I can get it that exact. But you don't want your leader too long on this one, and I'm actually going to switch back to a stock fish hook.
Fish at night, you'll find out the hard way. When it goes over your bobber.
Oh, and you won't never know?
Yeah. You can thaw it out, let it sit for 2 hours, reel it back in, like, huh. That's real important when you're running a light on your bobber too. You get hung up on there quicker. And
now check this out. Here's how the money works right here. This is why this is so popular, because it's variable depth setup. The way a slip bobber works is it slips up and down your line. And the only thing that differentiates whether this is a foot under the water or 10 foot is where this bobber stop is. So say you want to put your bait 6 foot. You set that bobber stop 6 foot up the line, and then what's going to happen is once that bobber starts floating, that sinker we put on is going to pull the line down, and it's going to stop right there. It's going to stop right there, and the bobber is going to be floating about 6 feet above the stuff. And like Ethan was saying, they like that big whizzing, because look how fun this is to cast. I seen it down there. It may be in a different zip code. I don't know. But now, even though it's way out there, that bobber, that weight's still going to pull it down and stop it right there at wherever the bobber is.
It's a good one.
That's a slip bobber setup. That one's extremely popular. Hey, and I'll even give you one on this right here. Honorable mention, the plain hook. That's a rig I go a lot. It's the same rig as the one at the beginning, just without the split shot. You just put a hook on there, put a chicken liver, toss it out, see what happens. You know you got to bite whenever your pole is going in the water. That's how I usually run it. If you want to learn more about the knot I was tying, click right over here. If you want a video overall catfishing, click right over here. Or how you set the hook differently on circle hooks versus J hooks, click right over here. Solid.